Welcome back to DaBoot Tragedies. Man, Michael Thomas goes off today. And before we get to those videos, these are a couple old videos of him. Fans and media personnel was not allowed to film, but they did get a couple clips of Michael Thomas today, so that's good. I'll show those a little later. But Michael Thomas goes off, man. This was his best practice, the best practice by any Saint of an entire training camp goes to Michael Thomas today. It's no shock that he's playing like this. Obviously, before he got injured, he was the best receiver in the NFL, broke the NFL record for catches in the season. So we know he has talent. We know he's a top guy. He just needs to be healthy, and now he's looking healthy. I said a couple videos ago, maybe a couple days ago, that he looked 80%. I'm going to change that now, so I think he's around 85 to 90%. Do I think he's the Michael Thomas of 2019 yet? No, I don't think so, but he's getting damn close, man. He's getting super close to getting back to that 2019 guy where he was the #1 receiver in the NFL. That's only going to help the Saints receiving core, quarterbacks, everyone around him, but he's looking good so far. He dominated 7-on-7, and I'll show you a couple of those clips right now. Like I said, it's not a lot just because they weren't, able to film. I don't know why the Saints don't let the fans and the media film on certain days. Every other team doesn't care. Actually, I do know why, man, because you're giving away plays, concepts, and stuff that you're running at practice. You don't want all of that out there before the week one even gets there. So I understand that part. Before we jump into those videos today, man, can y'all follow the Twitter page? It's sitting at 1,488 people. The Twitch page as well, that's sitting at 14 guys. In the Discord, we have 55 in there. We're trying to get that to over 100 before the season starts. The links are in the description for all three of those things.
You can see why he's been one of the best receivers in the league for a long time, ever since he got into the league. So his work ethic, his mentality, just his ability to make plays when the ball's in the air, he's special.
And with Michael Thomas going off, I'll take this time to talk about Andy Dalton, who also had a great day, because obviously if Michael Thomas had 4 catches, 4 touchdowns, and 7-on-7, somebody had to be throwing him those balls, and that was Andy Dalton. We know that Jameis Winston is quarterback 1. He's going to be our quarterback, but Andy Dalton has been looking good all of training camp, and this doesn't surprise me, man. He's a starter in this league, but he's not a top-tier guy. Obviously, he's not going to be a top 5, top 10 quarterback, maybe not even top 15, but he's going to be a middle of the pack, 15 to 20 guy if he was to start in the NFL. And that's not nothing crazy, but he can right the ship if someone was to get hurt, like Jameis Winston, who's hurt now day to day with that foot sprain. You wouldn't mind throwing Andy Dalton in there for 2 games, and he can, keep the team afloat. If you remember last year, Jameis Winston got hurt. We tried Trevor Siemian, didn't work. Ian Book had to go out there for a game, didn't work. Taysom Hill, he got injured while he was going out there. It was okay with him. The biggest thing of having Andy Dalton is if something were to happen to Winston, God forbid, we don't want anything to happen to him, you wouldn't have to change the offense. Obviously, Taysom coming in there, whole entire different offense. Trevor Siemian came there last year. You couldn't really call the whole playbook. You had to cater to what those guys can do. But Andy Dalton, man, the playbook will be open. Like I said, he's a proven starter in this league. He will have a great team around him with this defense, with this run game. Offensive line is solid. If he was to have to go out there, I'm very confident in Andy Dalton, man. He's probably the best backup quarterback in the league, like I've said, and it's good to see him shining at practice, and it's just good to have that security blanket if something was to happen to Jameis. Also, I forgot to mention yesterday that Marcus Davenport is back. He returned to practice, and that's a good sign for the Saints. He was one of the last guys to return to practice. Him and Rashid Shaheed both returned to practice, but Davenport obviously going to be the most important player there. Saints took it very slow with him. He had that amputated pinky this off season, or half of it, or 3/4 of it, whatever you want to call it. He had that. He had some shoulder things. Just just some things all around. Marcus Davenport was hurt. The Saints took it slow, had him on PUP list, had to prove, that he was in shape, had to get him back into shape when he was medically cleared to play. And I think that was the right decision on the Saints' part, man. You have to take it slow with this guy. He's obviously showed through the years that he had trouble staying healthy, and we just don't want to run into that problem again this season. This is a very, very big season for him. He did look good in individual drills. He did. He was doing some bag drills. He looked quick. He looked sharp, but you never get the full story until you get into team situations and stuff like that with Marcus Davenport. But he is looking good. He is heading in the right direction, and that's all you can really ask for. The slow process for him is going to be key. Continue to move slow with him. We do not need to rush him back. This is a guy that we do not need to see until week 1. Put him in bubble wrap. Let's see him week 1, man. Slowly progress him through this process, just like you did Michael Thomas, just like you did Pete Werner, Rashid Shaheed, and anybody else that was hurt. I honestly would like to not see him do any teamwork until after the first preseason game. Just let him do individual drills, let him do, some walkthroughs and stuff like that, get acclimated with the process. He knows the system. He's been here for a long time. That didn't change. But he does not need to be doing team stuff, one-on-ones, or anything like that, in my opinion, to after the first preseason game. You kind of get him on a fresh start with everybody else coming off that game so he can work in right there. Obviously, this is a contract year for Marcus Davenport. He's going to want to perform well. He's going to want to play in every game because he has big money on the line, and he's worked the big money. He has to just prove that he can stay healthy, prove that he can be consistent, because when he's on the field, he's a top 5 player for the Saints, in my opinion, top 10 player for sure, just because we added some new guys. But he is a beast when he's on the field, but we have to get him on the field. Next, I do want to talk about this linebacker situation. The Saints did sign Chase Hansen in free agency. He's not going to be a big player in the Saints rotation or anything like that. He's going to be a guy that can probably come in on special teams and help out there if he makes this roster. But I do want to talk about the 2 linebackers that are injured, one re-injured. First, we'll talk about DeMarco Jackson, draft pick out of Appalachian State. Was really looking forward to seeing him in training camp in the preseason, but unfortunately, he has to go to IR, injury reserve. Don't know if he's going to ever come off of that, but he's definitely out of play for probably the entire preseason, man. He hasn't practiced at all. I'm not sure what's going on with him. It's not a lot of information coming out on that front. So that's going to be it for him. And now this next one is very, very concerning. Pete Werner, he's back to missing practice again, not out there. He re-injured the groin, or his groin is giving him more issues. He said when he came back, it was still, bothering him a little bit, and that was already concerning. He should have never been back if that groin was not 100%. Those groins are very, very tricky, man. If those things are not 100%, you're going to retweak it every time. So, hey, they're going to go back to the drawing board. Hopefully he gets healthy before week 1. But if that guy's not 100%, you cannot play him with a groin injury. I don't know any more than a medical staff, but I do know if your groin is hurt, you're going to re-injure it. I promise you, you're going to go too fast at one point. No matter how much you try to limit yourself and slow it down, your body's just going to react, and you're going to end up re-injuring that groin. That's what Pete Werner did. That's dangerous, because if he comes back and then he re-injures it again, anything like that, now we're going to be talking about surgery, this and that, and that's going to open up a whole can of worms that we do not want to go down. Obviously, the linebacking core is already thin. Super thin. So we need him to be healthy. We need him to get healthy, because he's going to be a very important part to this defense this year. And if he's not healthy, the Saints are going to be looking funny in the light for not having a backup linebacker on a roster. We'll get to that. We'll cross that bridge when we get there, but we'll see what happens. But with that great, day of Saints practice, man, we're not going to end on that negative note like that with those injuries, because we did have a very, very good day of practice. Davenport is back out there. Offensive line is looking good. There was a fight at practice, and it did not involve Trevor Penning. Ever since they thrown him out of practice, I think, he's kind of calmed it down. He's learned how to practice, which we all knew was going to happen, man. The guy was finally getting some first team reps. He was finally getting out there, and they had the pads on, full pads, and he was getting after it. That's just who he is. I would rather coach him down than to try to coach him up. So that's been good. We haven't heard really anything out on that front. Offensive line been looking good, man. The Debo, he's finally getting tested. He was, he's kind of picking on our receivers, man. He was having a great camp, but Michael Thomas has come out there, and he has put his foot down. He has shown he's one of the best receivers in this league still, and that's only going to help our defense get better. Marshawn Lattimore is also dealing with like a hamstring injury. He's also day-to-day. I expect that not to be too serious, and he'll be back soon. But, man, the Saints training camp is looking good. I'll definitely have more coming up soon just because it's game week. I'll have a pregame show, post-game show, things I'm looking for. So much coming this week just because it is game week. The season is almost here. We're basically a month away from actually game time, man. First game is September 11th. It's August 10th. We're a month and a day away from Saints playing football, and I can't wait for it. Shout out out to everyone that made it this far, man, and watched these videos. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Click those links in the description below. As always, this is DaBoot Tragedies, and I'm out.